story begins with Park Hyung-seok, who was just your average teenage boy, but he was sick and tired of his life. No one liked him because of his appearance, and even his own dad couldn't stand to look at him, so he left to buy milk and never came back. But after crying his eyes out for what felt like an eternity, Seok woke up one day to find himself the most good-looking guy around. Seok was constantly bullied because of his chunky, short stature, with everyone calling him a loser. He was humiliated at school and physically abused by one of the students named Logan Lee, who made him act and sound like a pig and dog and would beat him if he didn't do it perfectly. To make matters worse, he lived in a rundown house with his single mom, who couldn't afford to send him to a different school even though he begged her to let him transfer. One day, the bullies picked on him again, punching him in the stomach. His mom showed up and tried to stop them, but people just whispered and talked trash about Seok. Embarrassed, he swore at his mom and apologized to the bully. When he got home, he felt terrible for what he had done to his mom, who was only trying to protect him. Just as he was about to apologize, his mom surprised him by saying that he was going to a new school so he could start fresh. Excited about the opportunity to reinvent himself, Seok transferred to his new school and, while walking through the city, ran into a girl. When he apologized, she quickly apologized back, which was a new experience for him. He was relieved to see that this place wasn't as harsh as his old school. He tried to smile confidently, but the guy she was with accused him of being a pervert and punched him in public. As he was being beaten, cameras were flashing all around him. When he got home, he saw that he was all over social media, with people calling him a pig. He put down his phone and felt sorry for himself until he fell asleep. In the middle of the night, he woke up to find an unfamiliar, yet attractive face staring back at him in the mirror. He touched his face and body in disbelief and realized it was his own. He quickly went back to his room and saw his old, chunky body lying on the floor. He slapped his body and woke up as the fat dude again. He was relieved to see his pudgy arms again and thought it was a scary, yet happy dream. But when he was about to go back to sleep, he screamed in terror as he saw the handsome guy sleeping next to him. He tried to wake up the sleeping man, but ended up switching back into his own body. When Seok went to school the next day, everyone was talking about how attractive he was. They treated him like a celebrity. He walked into his classroom and saw the same girl and guy from the day before. The guy introduced himself as Jin Seong, and Seok, shaking inside, introduced himself too, hoping that Jin Seong wouldn't recognize him. On his way home, he saw a job posting for the night shift at a convenience store. The owner hired him on the spot, even though he had no experience, and offered him a high salary. But in his original body, the owner treated him differently and hired him for a lower salary. Seok realized that whenever he fell asleep, he switched into the other body, which could be awoken by a slap to the face. Jin Seong and some of his friends walked into the convenience store, and Jin Seong forced Seok to pay for some items, as a way of forgiving him for the last incident. As Seok nervously stood behind the counter, Jin Seong noticed his nameplate, and got annoyed when he saw that they had the same name. He got angry and beat Seok up on the counter again, while the group took a picture of him half naked and bruised. They threatened to make the photos public if he reported them. After they left, Seok fell to the floor and cried as he remembered all his trauma. The next day, he overheard his coworkers talking about the pictures they had taken the day before. They continued to ridicule and call him a pig, even insulting his mother. Seok clenched his fist and intervened in the conversation, telling them not to talk badly about his mom. But Jin Seong was displeased and stood up to pick a fight with him. Seok dodged his first punch and then punched him back. The room was surrounded by students watching them. When he was cornered by the lockers, he thought he had no way to avoid the attack, but surprisingly, he was able to hold his fist steady and stop Jin Seong. As the cameras flashed around them, his memories of abuse and hardships flooded back, and he could hear the insults he had received from people echoing in his head. His anger built up, and when Jin Seong lunged at him, he raised his fist and punched him in the stomach, knocking him to the ground. The next day, Seok chased after a guy who was stealing from the convenience store and was forced by a gang to fight the thief. Luckily, he was saved by a tall, intimidating guy named Basco. Seok learned that the thief, Jai-ho, was his classmate and had been bullied and forced by the gang to steal and run errands. The next day, Seok found out that Basco was the leader of a gang. In the middle of their conversation, Basco walked into the cafeteria and approached Seok with a grim look. Seok got nervous and tried to talk about the previous day, which made Basco angry because he thought Seok was the leader of the bullies. Seok apologized and explained that he had mistaken him for someone he had seen the day before. His bully classmates approached him and asked him if he wanted to drink, which he accepted. However, he drank so much that he passed out drunk. When he woke up, he was back in his original body and rushed to find his other self. There, he ran into his classmates who had bullied him in the convenience store, but they let him go because he claimed to be Seok's friend and they thought he belonged to a gang. As he carried his other self on his back, Jin Seong and the gang saw a boxing arcade machine. Suddenly, Jin Seong taught him the basic stance of a boxer. The next day, Seok returned from school and found his mom staring at his sleeping body. In shock, he introduced himself as Seok's roommate and friend, and told her that Seok was resting because he was working a night shift. She was glad to know that her son had a new friend and wanted to get to know him more, so the two of them went to a coffee shop. When she refused to buy a coffee because of the price, he insisted on paying for it. As they sat down to enjoy their drinks, Seok's mom asked him about his life. He told her about his experiences with bullying and how he had always felt like an outsider. But now, with his new body and newfound confidence, he felt like he could finally be himself and not worry about what other people thought. His mom was touched by his story and told him that he was strong and brave. She encouraged him to keep fighting and never let anyone bring him down. Seok felt a warmth in his heart and realized that, no matter what he looked like on the outside, he was loved and supported by his mom. As they finished their drinks and said goodbye, Seok walked home with a new sense of purpose. He vowed to always stand up for himself and never let anyone bully him again. And who knows, maybe one day he'll even find his dad, who left to buy milk and never returned. During a conversation with his mother, she brings up the topic of Hyung Seok and expresses concern for his well-being. Seok reassures her that he is getting along with his new friends. However, he begins to feel guilty for how he has treated her in the past. As they are about to leave, his mother asks Baem-yi, who is working there, if she can take some boxes with her. Seok learns that his mother works 2 jobs to make money for his education and collects scraps for a living, causing him to worry about her well-being. Before she leaves, she gives him money to pay for their coffee. Later, Basco takes Seok to a construction site and urges him to fight, mistaking him for someone who has been bullying Seok. Seok is confused by the situation, and as Basco continues to attack him, he tries to defend himself by dodging the attacks. When Basco demands the money that his mother gave him earlier, the Seok begins to see him as no different from his previous bullies. In an effort to fight back, the Seok remembers the boxing techniques that Jin Seong taught him and attempts to use them to defeat Basco, but he is able to dodge the attack. Eventually, Seok is able to knock Basco out by using his elbow. When Seok returns to his night shift at the convenience store, he is surprised to see Basco enter with a patch on his face. Basco apologizes for not being able to get the money back and buys Seok a yogurt drink, saying that he just needs more training to become stronger. A woman enters the store and sees Seok working out, causing him to become embarrassed. However, she smiles at him and even buys him a drink, wishing him luck on his training. As Seok and Jae-ho become closer friends, Seok witnesses a student from the vocal dance class being bullied by other students. Without hesitation, he steps in to confront the bully, Ho-bin. After the bullies leave, Seok tries to help the victim stand up, but he refuses his assistance and walks away. Later, the woman from earlier enters the store and greets Seok, asking if he is still working out. Seok is struck by her beauty and becomes flustered. In the cafeteria, Seok witnesses Deok-hawa being bullied once again, and unable to stand by and do nothing, he rushes to intervene. The bullies prepare to fight Seok, but they ultimately leave when Basco arrives. Basco questions Seok's actions, to which Seok replies that he couldn't bear to watch Deok-hawa being bullied without doing anything. However, Basco remains skeptical and threatens Seok before leaving. Seok checks on Deok-hawa, but he doesn't respond and walks away as usual. Seok notices a crumpled paper on the ground and realizes it is a torn application form for a performance at a festival. The following day, he gives Deok-hawa the repaired form. But instead of being grateful, Deok-hawa angrily accuses Seok of only trying to be kind in order to become famous and mock him later. Seok asks Hanwoo about the festival and she encourages him to participate, believing he has the potential to win first prize. The idea of performing on stage excites and terrifies Seok, as he has never received such encouragement before. He reflects on his mother's praise of his singing voice, which he had ignored in the past, and becomes emotional. As Seok looks at Deok-hawa's form, he realizes just how important it is to him. Like Seok, Deok-hawa also turns to music as a way of coping with his unhappiness and pain. So, when Seok finishes singing and is surprised to find Deok-hawa standing behind him, he is even more shocked to see the other boy's bruised and tear-streaked face. Without hesitation, Seok hands Deok-hawa the form again, offering his support. However, Seok is taken aback when Deok-hawa asks him to perform with him at the upcoming school festival. Despite his initial reservations, Seok agrees to join Deok-hawa in practicing their song. As they rehearse, Seok is amazed by Deok-hawa's talent as a composer, and the two continue to perfect their performance with Jae-ho as their audience. As they practice, Seok works hard to improve, but Deok-hawa reminds him to be careful not to strain his vocal cords. In fact, Seok practices so much that he even manages to sing while on duty at the convenience store where he works. And it is there that the beautiful woman who has caught Seok's eye hears him sing once again. Touched by Seok's dedication, she offers him throat lozenges to help him with his practice. Seok is grateful for her kindness, and the woman wishes him good luck with his performance. As Seok continues to practice with Deokhawa and Jaiho, he is surprised to see the two of them walk into the convenience store. This is Deokhawa's first time meeting Seok in this body, and so Seok introduces himself. As they chat, the three boys realize that they all have experienced bullying in their own way. Deokhawa is constantly bullied in school, Jaiho is treated like an errand boy, and Seok is distrusted because of his good looks and popularity. As they share their stories, Seok's heart is touched by their words, and he thanks them for their understanding. However, their conversation is interrupted by the arrival of Basco, who is curious about Seok's reputation as a good guy. While the misunderstanding is quickly cleared up, the practice for their performance continues to go well, and both Deokhawa and Jaiho are impressed by how quickly Seok improves. As the school festival approaches, Seok sees the beautiful woman from the convenience store walking around the campus. Excited at the chance to talk to her again, Seok runs after her, but she mistakes his enthusiasm for a pickup attempt. Disheartened, Seok realizes that this is the first time he has met the woman in his attractive body, and she is not as kind to him as she was before. Just as Seok is about to try and talk to her again, the woman's companion grabs Seok's arm and threatens him. But Seok manages to break free and run away, only to be kicked to the ground by the angry man. Just in the nick of time, Basco comes to Seok's rescue, telling the man that Seok is his friend. And although the woman tries to stop her companion from hurting Seok and Basco, she ultimately apologizes and walks away with the man. After the incident, Seok is surprised when Basco does something out of character and offers him a drink. Seok thanks him for his kindness before rushing off to the venue for their performance. As they take the stage, Seok is overwhelmed by the size of the audience, and he fumbles the first note of the song. Embarrassed, Seok watches as Deokhawa takes the lead and wins over the crowd with his rap skills. Inspired by Deokhawa's passion and determination, Seok remembers what Deokhawa said earlier about how music can help connect people to their inner selves. As Seok prepares to sing, the first person he thinks of is his mother, who has always been his biggest fan. With newfound confidence, Seok sings freely, leaving the audience stunned by his beautiful voice. As he sings, Seok reflects on all the ups and downs he has experienced in his life, and he feels a deep connection with his inner self. Giving it his all, Seok and Deokhawa win the competition, much to the delight of the crowd. And after their performance, a representative from a music label approaches them, praising their talents and offering them the opportunity to take their music to the next level. Overjoyed and grateful, Deokhawa accepts the offer, and the three boys celebrate their victory together. As the two friends chat, Deokhawa offers his business card to Seok. However, Seok notices Deokhawa's disappointment and politely declines. Later, Seok and Deokhawa meet up with Jaiho at their usual hangout spot. They watch a video of their recent performance, but Deokhawa's scenes have been cut out. Despite this, Deokhawa remains positive and vows to continue writing great songs. Seok encourages him and tells him that their music truly captures the depth of their emotions. The scene then shifts to a beautiful girl who recognizes Seok as the guy from the store. She reveals that she, too, has a second body, one that is overweight. As the scene ends, Seok wakes up in his other body and prepares for a new day at school with a smile on his face.